we have Professor Deepak Pawar. He's a political science professor from the Mumbai University. He's a founding member of CLEAR, along with our friend Sendilnathan, and a strong supporter of state autonomy. And I'm sure Professor Deepak Pawar would also be very interested in our activities. And Professor Pawar is an advisor to the Maharashtrian government, and he's a scholar in Marathi studies. Professor Pawar, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Uday Kumaran, and thanks to Senthil that I get an opportunity to participate in this forum and speak about federalism. When we are talking about federalism, it is necessary that all of us try and understand the constitutional structure that we have and the central-state relations that are enshrined in the Indian Constitution. If you look at the legislative relations and the administrative relations or the financial relations, what we would be able to understand is that we have technically adopted the federal structure, but in reality, we are a quasi-federal system. And we are a quasi-federal system in the sense that the center is more powerful than the units. And therefore, we keep telling our students of political science that India is an indestructible union of destructible states. Now, when we say India is an indestructible union of destructible states, at that time, we believe and we in fact argue that the center has the right to decide on the existence of state. The center has the right to decide on what would be the boundaries of the state. Changing the names and boundaries of the state is also the power of the center. If you look at the way Indian state has been created, probably if partition would not have happened and if the bloodshed would not have followed that partition, there is a bigger possibility that India would have been more federal than what it is at this particular point of time. But partition and the consequent bloodshed in a way created a kind of fear psychosis in the mind of the leadership at the center, which was more or less the Congress leadership, and they decided to go for a more controlled kind of pattern of creation of a new nation state. Now, from the point of view of political science or from the point of view of understanding Indian party system, we will see that in most of the country, in most parts of the country, it was one dominant party system model which was controlled by the Congress party. And when the one dominant party system model prevailed in India between the 1950s to 1970s, the Congress party used and misused Article 356 to a larger extent. If you see the difference today, you will not find so many incidences of use or misuse of Article 356. That does not mean that the country has become more federal today. That only means that the way in which Indian federalism was viewed in the past and the way in which Indian federalism is viewed now, the perspective has considerably changed. Now, if we want to understand how the Indian state has looked at federalism, how the Indian state has looked at changes in the political system over a period of time, we have to have some understanding of two major commissions which were appointed by the Indian state. One was the Sarkaria Commission report, and the second is the Poochie Commission report. Both these reports try to understand the relationship between the center and the states. The first commission tried to understand the relation between the center and the states till the 1980s, whereas the next commission tried to understand the relationship almost up to the 1990s. When the relationship between the center and states was understood by these two commissions, and if you look at the recommendations of these two commissions, the commissions have recommended that more balanced relationship between the center and the states has to be there. The commissions have acknowledged that the Indian state is tilted towards the center, and the states are in a way helpless. The states are dependent. States are financially not much independent, and not just financially, they are also in terms of legislation and administration dependent on the center. So they analyze the problem thoroughly, but after analyzing the problem thoroughly, they come out with the solutions, or they come out with recommendations which are basically shying away from the existing reality, or they are shying away from the solutions which they should have been actually giving. For example, all of us know that the office of the governor was terribly misused in this country by using Article 356 extensively. Now, when the one dominant party system almost collapsed and India went to multi-party system or coalition politics, the use or misuse of the office of the governor drastically came down. But if you see in many states, including the state of Tamil Nadu or my home state of Maharashtra, after the arrival of the Bharatiya Janata Party on the national horizon, the office of the governor has also become an important tool of managing or mismanaging or mishandling the state governments. And the Pucci Commission has made a very important recommendation in its report, where it says that we should think of curtailing the responsibilities of the governor. We should, because the governor's office has a lot of colonial responsibilities, we have to cut down these responsibilities. And one of the major responsibilities that they suggested should be cut down was the responsibility of the governor as the chancellor of universities. If you see, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Sangha Parivar have extensively used the educational apparatus across the country for furthering their agenda, and the office of the governor in many places has been an important tool which they have used in furthering their agenda. Now, the recommendation, when it was made, the Congress party was in power, but the Congress party and the even the non-Congress, non-BJP coalitions, they did not pay enough attention of curtailing these responsibilities of the governor as chancellor of the universities. And now you can see, through schools, through colleges, through universities, and by the use of the chancellor's office, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Sangha Parivar are constantly using and appropriating the educational apparatus. So we have to look at the changing dynamics of federalism, not in the conventional sense of what the governors used to do or how many times Article 356 was used. We have to look at the dynamics of federalism in the post-globalized scenario. We have to look at the dynamics of federalism from the point of view of which companies and which cartels come up in which part of which state, and which are the political and business forces that play a major role in bringing those particular corporate cartels. Because we need to understand that the pro-federalism and anti-federalism forces, there is no binary difference between the two. The anti-federalism forces sometimes appear to be highly federal, and they try to masquerade their corporate agenda, they try to masquerade their corporate political agenda, and sometimes you may find helping regional political parties, sometimes you may find them helping regional sentiments, but they are not interested in actually coming out with a regional agenda, but furthering of not just a national agenda, but a transnational agenda. So we need to understand the co-relationship between transnational capital, national political power, and regional or regionalized political elite. Unless we are able to understand this particular relationship and the overt and covert nature of this relationship, we would not be able to handle the challenges before federalism at this particular point in time. Another point that I want to bring up is, today Senthil has posted about the suicide of one girl who died of suicide because she feared of the NEET result. Now, whether it is NEET or whether it is other All India examinations or whether it is creation of more All India services, including in the educational field. And let me, before I forget, let me remind you that lot of people have talked about the national education policy from the point of view of whether it is a BJP supported Manuwadi politics or not. I don't want to get into that cliche of Manuwadi politics. Please read things between the lines. One suggestion of the national education policy is the creation of new Indian education services, and these new Indian education services bureaucrats would be appointed as registrars in universities of different states. At this particular juncture, most of the states are controlled by, many of the states are controlled by regional political parties. They appoint their own vice chancellors, they appoint their own registrars and controllers of examinations. I'm not saying that they do it honestly. I'm not saying that they are doing it in competitive or professional way. But when you have Indian educational service guy coming to manage your own state university, you will see that there would be more control of the center even in the concurrent area of education, and that interference would be in your every state university, because all these people, they come from the Indian education services. Initially you may find them very professional, but they have no loyalty to the state. They would not be interested in understanding the language of the state. And even today, we find many universities in many states of the country not following regional languages and not giving enough space to regional languages. If we have more Indian education service professional in the state universities, it would be like a major blow to all state universities that we should always keep in mind. Another point that we need to understand is whether all our regional political parties, including the Senas and the DMK and the Akalis or the Telugu Desam and other political parties or Assam Gana Parishad, for a long time, they have been considered as the vanguards of regional politics. They have been considered as the voices of federal politics. But we need to understand that beyond a point, all our existing regional parties are also into tokenism of federal politics. And if all of them are into tokenism of federal politics, we have to explore this possibility whether our regional existing political parties also have to be redesigned or new forces have to be created, or the very idea of regional political parties has to be revisited and re-envisaged. Maybe newer political forces are going to emerge, and the new education policy, GST, and increasing communalization of politics, whether it might pave way to a new brand of federal politics. If you look at the whole communal agenda, fundamentalist agenda, and the North cow belt agenda that the BJP and the Sangh Parivar have been propagating, we may feel that they are challenging existing political discourse in the country. But one has to understand that today across the country, sizable number of caste and communities are directly or indirectly supporting the Bharatiya Janata Party's hateful propaganda. So it is not that the BJP has gained the mainstream politics central space out of a blue. We have to understand that the middle class, the higher middle class, and a section of the lower middle class and middle strata of our caste, they are either co-opted or they are accommodated by the BJP's so-called Hindutva brand of politics, and the extreme fringe of the BJP's Hindutva brand of politics has also been considered in a way, it is lauded by the various forces in the Indian society. We need to understand that it is difficult or almost impossible to challenge this agenda unless we are able to create a parallel pan-India narrative. Now, prior to my presentation, I heard about the problems of whether we can be a United States of India, or whether India can become a new kind of federal or confederate kind of a state. I think if if there is fatigue about BJP's brand of politics, if there is fatigue about, or if there is unease about the existing brand of regional politics in the country, then only new federal politics is going to emerge. And for that, we may depend partially on the existing political infrastructure of regional political parties in our state, but more so, probably we may have to create a bigger, newer, and genuinely post-Hindutva structure of federal politics in this country. And that is something which some of us are trying to do it in Maharashtra. Maharashtra as a state has been highly in support of, a major chunk of the Maharashtrian community has been highly in support of Hindi as the official language of the country, or that propaganda of Hindi as the national language has controlled the minds of Maharashtrians in fact, like very few other communities. A number of elder senior Congress people in this state, they propagated Hindi. They propagated Hindi Rashtra Bhasha Prachar Samiti activities. But now in Maharashtra, there is a sizable chunk of people who are trying to challenge this notion of Hindi as the national language, and dominance of Hindi is being challenged. I look at that as as a better sign of moving towards federal politics. Another point that I'm going to make, and then I will conclude my presentation. Another point that I want to make is that in Maharashtra today, we have three state-level political parties: the NCP, the Shiv Sena, and the Maharashtra Navnirman Sena. These three political parties are regional political parties. Although the NCP belongs to the Congress brand of politics, and the Shiv Sena was till recently with the Bharatiya Janata Party, and the MNS is on the political margins in the state. Today, there are three major political parties which are challenging the dominance of the center and challenging the agenda of the center in their own manner. I think not only these forces, but some other forces would also emerge in my home state, and we would join that new brigade of federal politics in contemporary India. Thank you so much.
Pawar, that was a very brilliant presentation. You started off by talking about the Sarkaria Commission and Punch Commission, and pointed out all the difficulties in the state-center relationship. And I particularly liked what you said about the governor's role in education. Recently, Prime Minister had a consultation with all the state governors about the new education policy. Why do the governors come in this picture? We have never had any direct intervention on the part of the governors in state policies and central policies, but now they have brought the governors in. And in Tamil Nadu, the governor also had a high upper hand in nominating some of the vice chancellors of our universities here in Tamil Nadu. And I am very glad that you pointed out this Indian education service, the role it will play, and the damage they will do to our education system, to our textbooks, to our teacher training, to our very education model. So I think we need to discuss all these things. And I'm also very happy to hear that people in Maharashtra have begun to challenge this official language, Hindi as official language conundrum. And that's a very good sign. And you may know that that has been a major issue here in Tamil Nadu. And I particularly like that we need to have a bigger and newer and post-Hindutva type of a federal arrangement we should work for, we should seek out. So thank you so much for that brilliant presentation. We really got enlightened.
Thank you.